Welcome back to the Gravelord Editor Introductory Tutorial series. In this video, we'll explore different ways to model brushes, create spectral surfaces, and set up breakables. Gravelord stands out with its unique spectral surface mechanic, allowing you to traverse levels quickly and engage in combat strategically, or even use it as a vertical shortcut if you fall. Combined with breakables, you can create some really dynamic, fun situations. You'll learn how to turn simple blockouts into atmospheric spaces through level art, texturing, lighting, sound design, and effects. Let's get started. In the previous video, we created brushes by dragging faces in object mode. Let's learn something new by trying vertex, edge, and face mode. Press V, E, or F to enter these different modes. You can edit individual vertices, edges, or faces. Press V, E, or F, or Escape to exit the respective mode. First, extend the brush by selecting the vertices and dragging them farther with mouse and arrow keys. Copy the brush and create a higher platform using the face mode. And finish the wall in edge mode. Make a duplicate of the wall mesh. There is one more method that can help you model your brushes: the clip mode. Press C to enter the clip mode. This mode allows you to cut a mesh by a plane defined by 2 or 3 points. Click a point somewhere on the mesh to define the first point, then the second, and then the third if you need it. You can click and drag to move already defined points. Press Tab to cycle between clipping options. Press C again to perform the cut. Press Escape to delete the last point or to exit the mode if no points are left. If you ever need to merge any number of meshes into one, select them all and press G. We need to create a smaller brush that will serve as our spectral shovel surface. Right-click and select Create Spectral Shovel Surface from the context menu. Now, when we enter the play mode, we can see the spectral shovel surface. However, when the player hovers the crosshair over it, it turns red, indicating that the player cannot pull toward it. To be able to pull to a spectral surface, the player needs to grab the spectral shovel. So, let's create a simple jumping obstacle and place the spectral shovel in the level. Open the asset picker by pressing P. Go to Power-Ups and drag the spectral shovel into space. Now, when we test the game, the player will start without the spectral shovel, complete a simple jumping puzzle and then grab the spectral shovel. When aimed at the spectral surface, they can now pull themselves up to the spectral shovel surface by pressing E. But what if we want to make it clear that the player needs to pull toward the spectral shovel surface? Breakables are the perfect way to draw the attention. Create a simple brush in front of the spectral shovel surface. Then select the front brush, right-click and choose Create Breakable from the context menu. Select the breakable and press I to open the inspector. Give it the script ID Shovel Breakable and set its health to an unreachable number. Next, open the Spectral Shovel pickup and press plus under On Picked Up Signals. In Target ID, type Shovel Breakable. Leave the command as Perform. Now you can test it. Grab the spectral shovel, and after picking it up, the spectral surface will reveal itself in a stone explosion. This is a much better way to catch the player's attention. Now let's try something different. Take a look at this encounter. Now, let's analyze the map. First, we created a simple bridge. The fence around the bridge forced the player to go directly for the spectral shovel. Anything over 1 meter high in our game cannot be jumped over by the player, except when the player has jumping boots, but we'll cover that later. After the player picks up the spectral shovel, a trigger around it sends a signal to break the breakable bridge and spawn ghouls named Monster Bridge. It's important to send this signal from the trigger, not from the spectral shovel pickup, because the player could otherwise walk around the shovel and skip it entirely. This is a great example of a surprise moment that can be achieved using breakables. Behind the ghouls, there's a large spectral shovel surface. Since the player only has the shovel, the most effective way to defeat the ghouls is to fly through them and smash them to pieces. Yes, spectral surfaces can also be used in combat situations. After ghouls are killed, they send a signal to a Scriptbox. Here's the Scriptbox, a handy scripting actor found in the asset picker under MISC. This particular type of Scriptbox is called a counter. In the target count field, you can enter the number of signals it needs to receive before sending its own signal. Both ghouls sent on-death signals to the counter named Counter Bridge. Once it received both signals, it sent a signal to Shovel Mover after a short delay of 2 seconds. The delay gives the player time to calm down and refocus on what's important. Movers were covered in the previous video, but it's important to note that they can also contain spectral shovel surface actors inside, allowing for some really interesting designs. After the shovel mover reached its destination, the player was able to escape the pit by pulling themselves toward the armor and moving forward. It's important not to forget to place breadcrumb pickups. In our case, that means placing the first spectral shovel followed by the armor on the critical path. This helps the player understand where they are supposed to go next. Now you can pause the video and try to create a similar scene. We left the edges on so you can see how we divided the brushes. Once you're done, we'll move on to the art phase. Or simply download the map file from this link if you want to try arting the level right now. Okay, let's continue. We can start with the textures. Press M to open the material picker. Here you can see a list of PBR and blockout textures. We can sort the textures into 3 categories: tiled, hotspot, and trim. We'll start with tiled, specifically the floor. Type tiled into the search bar. Floor 1, tiled 1 looks good. Start by shift left clicking on a single mesh face. This will select that face. If you shift double left click, it will select all faces from that mesh. A single click is enough for now. After the face turns red, click on your floor material. Voila! We have our floor ready. If you now alt left click on other faces around, you can copy and paste the currently selected faces material. Let's apply this floor material to all floor faces. For the walls, we can choose another tiled material. For example, wall 3 tiled 3. Let's not paint all the walls with this material, only a few to make the walls more visually distinct. You can move the selected face UVs using the arrow keys based on your grid. If you hold Alt arrow keys, you can stretch them. Press Home to reset the UVs. Rotate them with page up or page down. If you move the brush, your custom UVs will break. So if you want to move the brush without losing your UVs, turn UV lock on. This way, the brushes will keep their UVs based on your adjustments rather than the grid. Let's paint the rest of the wall with a different tile texture and finish the bridge. Now we can move on to trim textures. Trim materials are useful for creating continuous strips that align correctly even when brush faces have different rotations or positions. First, select your strip of faces. In the material picker, look for trim textures. After you've applied your trim material, it's time to choose the right trim texture set. Use numpad 1 or 3 to cycle between different trim textures. All faces must share the same trim material to work correctly when swapping trims. Also, avoid selecting additional faces that aren't part of the trim strip. To reset the trim to the best fitting trim texture, press numpad 5. Let's check if we forgot anything behind the bridge. Select the bridge object and press Ctrl H to hide it. There's a trim face missing behind it. Let's fix that. If you have a textured face selected, simply click and drag over additional unpainted brushes to apply the texture faster. If you selected a face for paint transfer that isn't part of the trim strip, don't forget to deselect it before changing the strip texture, or it will break the strip. Now we can bring the bridge back by deselecting everything and pressing Alt H to show all hidden objects. Sometimes you might think your faces are connected, but they're not. In that case, you have two options. Either cut the brushes so the faces connect, or simply trim them separately. Nobody will probably notice that the corner doesn't connect, and your level will have fewer brushes, which is better for performance. The upper faces of the bridge aren't connected in a strip, so we can just apply a tiled metal texture called Metal 1 Tiled 1. Now it's time to use hotspot textures. Press M and search for hotspot textures in the material picker. Hide the floor and select all unpainted brushes inside the mover. You can apply the Metal 1 Hotspot 3 material. Each time you apply a hotspot material to the face of a mesh, or you change the shape of a mesh that already has a hotspot material, the best fitting texture coordinates are automatically applied. Some materials support triangle faces, while others do not, so you need to experiment to find the best fit. Select one or more faces and use the hotkeys to fine-tune the texture coordinates. You can cycle between hotspot textures the same way as with trims, using numpad 1 or 3, and press numpad 5 to reset. Use Ctrl D to duplicate the mover and place it where the empty textured mover is located. Before placing it, delete the old mover. You don't have to texture everything manually. Once you've textured one object, you can simply copy and reuse it in other areas. And if you like to work efficiently, you'll definitely like this one. Gravelord editor supports linked groups. Let's create a small decoration on top of the wall. Start by creating simple geometry like this. We have three types of groups. Let's start with the basic group. Select the brushes of your decoration and create a group by pressing Ctrl G. This is the basic group, marked with the blue outline. Objects inside this group still behave according to the global space. We can right-click on this group and choose Enable Pivot on selected group. This will convert the basic group into a pivot group, which has a purple outline. Pivot groups create their own local space with separate grid. To compare the pivot and basic groups, try rotating them. You'll see that each has a different grid. The basic group follows the level grid, while the pivot group uses its own internal grid. To create a linked group, select a basic or pivot group and press Ctrl-Shift-D. Linked groups also have their own local space like pivot groups, and any changes made to one instance will automatically apply to all other linked instances. They are great for creating props, lights, or symmetrical parts of the level. Now, apply hotspot textures to the object. Once you're done, you can place it all over the walls. Press Ctrl F to flip the group in the direction of the camera. The best part is that if you modify one, all linked copies will update automatically. There's only one thing left to texture, the ending portal. Use the techniques we just learned and apply a blood material as the portal texture. Let's move on to lighting. First, press the shading on button to see the lights. You can also turn off the edges. Press Alt M to access the map settings in environmental profiles and try choosing a different skybox preset, for example, Night Cloudy 1. Experiment with the various parameters in environmental profile to see what they do. Now we can assemble our first light. This one will include a model, effects and sound. Let's create our torch. In the asset picker, go to the props section and place the wall torch model. Then, drag a light from the misc section in the map. Decrease the grid size and try to position the light at the center of the torch model. With small objects like this, it can be difficult to select the correct one. Use Ctrl and the scroll wheel to cycle between overlapping objects under your cursor. This light works well with a range of 1 and an intensity of 3. Go to Advanced Settings. The animation preset can be set to fire. The color is up to you. It's best to use shadows only when necessary, as they can be performance heavy. In the first episode of Gravelord, there were fewer than 15 lights that cast shadows. We'll move the light just a little bit to match the exact point of the emission part of the torch. This will be the main strong light in the center of the torch. Now, let's add another light that covers a wider area but is less intense. Duplicate the original light, then set its range to 7 and intensity to 2. Now we'll add some effects, but first, here's a little trick. Use the number keys to show or hide different types of actors, 5 for lights and 6 for light gizmos. Turn off the light gizmos. Place an FX actor to add particles to the scene. The nose of the gizmo should face upward. This indicates the emitter's direction. Rotate it using Shift up and down arrow keys. If you open the inspector, you'll see that this FX can have a script ID and can be enabled or disabled based on a signal sent to it. We'll leave this torch enabled by default, but you can control torches with signals later if needed. Set the FX to torch fire. Try checking the torch in test mode. Notice what's missing? Sound. You can find it in the MISC section as ambient sound. Choose Torch Fire 1. Min range defines the radius where the sound is heard at full volume, and max range defines where it fades out completely. The volume decreases gradually between those values. Setting the torch volume to 0.5 is a good practice since it's not a dominant sound. For min range, use 3 and for max range, set 12. Sounds much better, doesn't it? Now everything is ready, so unhide the light gizmos, switch to create mode with the spacebar and draw a brush around all torch actors. Make it a little bigger and place it inside the wall so it also includes the bounding box of the torch prop. Right-click the brush and choose Select Objects inside Selected Objects. Then press Ctrl G to create a group. Next, press Ctrl Shift D to create the linked group. You now have a torch you can place anywhere in the level or copy to other levels. Place torches around the level. Select all linked groups and press Ctrl F to flip them along the current camera axis. You can then place them on other walls. The only tasks remaining are setting up the portal lights and configuring the ending trigger. As mentioned in the previous video, create the trigger from a brush and set it to send the signal End Level Main Menu. Our spooky level is now complete. We are sure you'll find plenty of ways to make Guido the Gravedigger truly deadly with his spectral shovel. Don't be afraid to experiment and put your own spin on things using the brand new set of tools you've learned. There are more videos coming your way, packed with advanced tricks and tips for mastering the Gravelord's editor. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video in the series. Happy level designing!